Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we've got a massive story to unpack today. We're tracking a potential collision between one of the most historic soccer clubs on the planet and, well, one of the wealthiest human beings to ever live. This isn't just your standard sports story, guys. It's this incredibly fascinating look into global finance, the psychology of billionaires, and how the whole landscape of team ownership is shifting right under our feet. So let's get into this impending deal surrounding Liverpool Football Club. To really wrap your head around the sheer gravity of what we're talking about, we have to start with this number right here, $280.6 billion. That is the estimated net worth of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. When financial gravity of this magnitude suddenly enters the sports world, it doesn't just make waves, it completely changes the weather. We aren't just talking about some wealthy fan buying a luxury suite, no way. We're talking about a level of capital that can literally redefine a franchise's financial might on the global stage.
All right, let's dive into Section 1, Bezos eyes Liverpool FC.
So here is the crucial point. Jeff Bezos isn't actually buying the entire club outright. According to recent reports, he's closing in on roughly a 1/3 or 30% equity stake in Liverpool FC. Now, in a world of mega yachts and private space companies, you might be wondering, why just 30%? We're absolutely going to explore that mystery a little later in this explainer, but for now, just know that this is a massive slice of a very, very lucrative pie, and an official announcement could be dropping as early as this week.
What's really cool is that this brilliantly illustrates a major shift for Bezos personally. This is his first official major move into sports ownership. Look, if you follow the business of sports, you know he's kicked the tires before. He explored bids for NFL franchises in the past. There were rumors for years about him going after the Seattle Seahawks, for instance, but he never actually followed through. So making this move across the Atlantic into the English Premier League, that marks a definitive, historic first foray into the sports arena for him.
Moving right along to Section 2, meet the Billionaire Consortium.
The combined financial firepower sitting at this table is just staggering. This consortium is reportedly being led by Amit Bhatia, an Indian-origin businessman and the son-in-law of steel magnate Lakshmi Mittal. And Mittal alone commands a fortune estimated at $33.6 billion. But wait, it doesn't stop there. They're also joined by Eduardo Severin, yes, the co-founder of Facebook, who brings his own estimated net worth of $33 billion to the party. When you stack these titans together alongside Bezos, you are looking at an ownership group with an almost unprecedented level of financial leverage.
That brings us to Section 3, $6 billion valuation. Now, $6 billion is a staggering figure, sure, but it actually makes total sense when you look at the global landscape. Based on the Forbes rankings, Liverpool sits right at the top of the food chain. They are currently the fourth most valuable soccer team globally. They are trailing literally only behind massive, historic heavyweights, their Premier League rivals Manchester United and La Liga's legendary giants Barcelona and Real Madrid. So buying into Liverpool, you're buying into a premier, top-tier global asset.
Let's put this into perspective for a second. Way back in 2010, the Boston-based Fenway Sports Group, or FSG, bought Liverpool for $450 million. Fast forward to 2024, and this proposed 30% stake is based on a $6 billion valuation. That is just a truly massive return on investment. Plus, this capital is arriving at a critical time, as the club is navigating a major transition following the recent departures of Anish Slot and Mohamed Salah. Having the sheer financial backing of Bezos and his partners during a massive transitional rebuild, that is an incredible asset for the club's future.
We also have to contextualize this, because Bezos isn't operating in a vacuum here. We are seeing a complete flurry of billionaires paying big bucks for stakes in sports teams right now. Just recently, an investment group that included former Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban acquired a minority stake in the Athletics. We also saw Tom Dundon purchase the Portland Trail Blazers for a whopping $4 billion back in March. The ultra-wealthy are heavily targeting the sports sector right now.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 4, the minority stake mystery.
I want to pose this billion-dollar question directly to you guys. Why not just buy the whole team? Seriously, if you're Jeff Bezos and you have over $280 billion in the bank, you could buy Liverpool FC entirely out of pocket and barely even feel a dent. Yet, when you look around the landscape, the absolute wealthiest men and women in the world, people like Elon Musk, Michael Dell, the Google co-founders, and Bezos, they generally avoid majority sports ownership. They just don't own the major franchises outright. Now, there are rare exceptions, like the Waltons buying the Denver Broncos back in 2022, but by and large, the richest of the rich are actively steering clear of being the top boss. So why is that?
Well, the sources point to a few very compelling theories behind this.
First, it might just be as simple as a lack of interest. A lot of these titans are hyper-focused on tech, or space, or other industries. They might just prefer to spend their free time on other hobbies. Fair enough. But the second and third points, that's where the calculus gets really interesting. Because if you are the majority owner, you are under the gun. You face this extreme, relentless media pressure and an absolute onslaught of consumer and fan backlash the minute things go wrong. I actually really want you to hear this quote from our sources, because it perfectly captures the psychological reality of sports ownership today. They said, "It's kind of like an umpire, the butt of everyone's jokes." Think about that. The world's wealthiest people are so used to being celebrated as absolute visionaries in the boardroom. But in sports, where falling short of a championship breeds instant resentment, taking majority ownership often means paying billions of dollars just to become a daily lightning rod for public anger.
And that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. By taking just a 30% stake, Bezos gets to associate his brand with a legendary global sports property. He gets to enjoy all the financial upside, but he totally shields himself from being the sole lightning rod for fan anger when things go south on the pitch. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. As team valuations skyrocket into the tens of billions and media scrutiny reaches absolute fever pitches, will these insulated, consortium-led minority stakes become the new permanent standard for how the ultra-wealthy engage with global sports? It's a completely fascinating shift in the landscape, and we'll be watching closely as this Liverpool deal finalizes. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this, and keep your eyes on the pitch.